athlean-x.com. So today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the triceps and more importantly, how to start targeting them the right way in your workouts. And I was going to use Raymond. He actually had an idea that he told me. He literally had an idea. He said, screw using me. Why don't you use the muscle markers instead? Which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break out the muscle markers to show you how to start hitting your triceps more effectively. Okay, first of all, we need to always start to put the science back in strength because that's what we do here at Athlean-X, and we need to start with a little bit of an anatomy lesson. The triceps, there's 3 heads, obviously, by the name tri. And where they all originate and where they attach is really important for how we're going to attack them. First of all, we have the horseshoe. This is what everybody looks at. The front part of the horseshoe here is the lateral head of the tricep, this green area, okay? And then this big meaty area here is the long head of the tricep, this red area here all the way down. Now they all commonly insert into a tendon that feeds into the other side of the elbow joint here, which we'll get into in a second. The medial head actually sits way up underneath here, okay? And it actually lays underneath the long head of the triceps. So you can't really see that all that much, but it's a very important muscle in terms of providing stability to the overall tricep muscle group and therefore allowing you to kind of maximize your strength across all 3 heads and all your different exercises. So now, all of them, again, cross here into the elbow, which means they will extend the elbow. So I don't care what exercise you're doing, they're all going to work the triceps if you're extending your elbow. That's just how it works. We don't have to overcomplicate things. However, one of them starts not here on the arm, but it actually goes onto our scapula. Okay, it crosses the shoulder joint. That is the long head. That's why it's called the long head, because it actually goes here, and you can see that it attaches all the way back here. So now, what does that do? Well, let's cover that first. If you want to train your long head, you must create enough tension on there to maximize the contraction of the tricep, meaning you want to stretch that thing out and get it up and over your head. So right away, a tricep push away. Okay, you can see that my arm is up here over my body, and as I push out, I'm getting an extension of the elbow and obviously tricep contraction. We also could, some would say, take a dumbbell and put it up over our heads and start doing this and extend the elbows. My problem with that exercise is that you're actually internally rotating the shoulders here to grab the dumbbell with this elevation of the arms. If you have a shoulder problem or impingement in your shoulder already, that could hurt a lot, especially if you have a labrum tear, because it creates some compression in the joint. So that's not one of my favorites, okay? The next thing you could do though, like I said, don't always think about standing up into this position. If I were to lay down on my back and put my arm up in this position, you have actually one of my favorite exercises, which is the lying barbell tricep extension. You can do this with an easy curl bar, you can do it with dumbbells. Here, I like to do them with dumbbells because it allows me to get a little bit further back behind my head so that when I'm contracting, I still have some tension here on the triceps as opposed to being straight up overhead. We've covered that in many videos. So that's your attack plan. Now, here's one thing I'm going to tell you that is very important that others might tell you never to do. And they might say, well, what about the contraction of that? Well, if we know the long head is stretched maximally by putting your arm up over your head, right, because we're flexing the arm, we know that the function of the long head is not just to extend the elbow, but to also extend the arm behind the body. You need to start doing some exercises that extend the arm behind the body while you're contracting. And there's something called active insufficiency, which means that you don't get a lot of tension generated in this position. And I agree, that's true. You don't get a lot of tension generated in this position because it's maximally shortened. However, what it does have the ability to do is show you what peak contraction feels like. And I can tell you right now, a lot of us suffer from an inability to have a good mind-muscle connection in any muscle group that we're working. So we would use 2 particular exercises to help us get that feel of the contraction right from the get-go before we start a tricep workout. These 2 would be a cobra push-up like I'm showing you here, and you can see that my arm is extended back behind my body. And again, we might want to do something like the good old tricep kickback. Again, the arm is back here. It's a killer exercise in terms of feeling that peak contraction, albeit maybe at a little bit less tension and force. We're not relying on it to build all that much muscle. We're relying on it to help us to develop that mind-muscle connection. One last thing you might want to try if you're still a non-believer in that is just stand out here, put your arm, straighten it all the way out. We know we've got tricep extension here, or elbow extension, so our triceps should be working. But what we want to do is now from here, just bring your arm back behind your body. And as soon as you do, you will feel an increase, a huge increase in the amount of that contraction that you feel in that tricep, because we've taken that long head now and we put it into a state of maximum contraction. Now, the other two. What do you do with the other two? You got the lateral head and you got the medial head. And both of them now are going to only do what? Extend the elbow. But there's something you can do to kind of favorably hit each of the areas. Think about when you're doing leg extensions. Yes, leg extensions. Not an exercise I would tell you to do, but just so you can visualize what I'm talking about. Leg extensions, you're going to stick your leg out like this, right? What have you done if someone's ever told you to target the inside of your leg? You've turned your leg out so that now when you contract, you're getting the VMO. You're feeling more of a contraction here on the inner side of your quad. If you turn your leg in, you're feeling a contraction more on the outer side of your quad. The same thing happens here with our triceps. If we have our triceps and we're going to do a push down, if we were to rotate them in, the more we turn them in, the more we work on the outer side here. If we were to turn them out, the more we work on the inner side here of the tricep. So when we're talking about lateral and medial, you're going to go more lateral head with the elbows turned, or with the forearms kind of pronated and turned in. You're going to go more medial head here underneath. Remember, lying underneath the long head. Medial head as we turn them out. So what are some of the options for here? Well, if we want to hit the lateral head first, if you're doing your tricep push downs, you can turn your hands in, allow your elbows to drift out a little bit as you do them, and you'll see that you get more of that lateral head. You can do a diamond cutter push-up where you turn your elbows out and you can see you're pushing down and getting that elbow extension, but with that slightly turned in position here, and we're going to work on the lateral head. For the medial head, you could do a reverse grip tricep push down. Now we're turning ourselves out and we're coming down, and you're working again more on that medial head, which is buried underneath the long head. Or we could do like a close grip bench press, elbows in tight, sometimes even underhand grip. You'll feel it even more, and you're going to press up and away from you, again, by turning out, focusing more on that medial head. So all in all, guys, the idea here is that the triceps are not all that complicated. All of them, regardless of what you do, are going to extend the elbow, but manipulating the position of the long head is going to be key. And not forgetting to include some of that peak contraction positioning by getting the arm back behind the body, because the long head allows you to do that, is a great way to kind of kick off your workout and help you to develop more mind-muscle connections, so that overall you can learn how to start developing more tension throughout your entire workout and get much more out of them.